What's up, players? Carlos here, and the reason why I'm making this video is in response to somebody responding to my request for feedback. Kyle, thank you for obliging me. And basically, in the last post, I talked about the stick in the brain trick, and I promised if anybody was interested, I'd give you the memory trick that I learned to creating a memory palace. But before we get into that, let me just first take a step back and just talk about the stick in the brain trick. So basically, there's this concept of X formation, and the idea is how things sort of sit in your brain without necessarily you knowing how or why it's in there. Like you can't necessarily recall why the association, why you understand, why you know about it. And the way it works is simply through prolific peripheral exposure to something. So it's the reason why you might know about, I don't know, things like fad diets like the Atkins diet or P90X. Maybe you've seen that, while flipping through the channel, you've seen one of the infomercials for this, and you didn't watch the whole thing. You just kind of like, saw the guy talking about it, Tony Horton doing his thing, and then you kind of scan through it. And maybe that happens to you periodically throughout the month or the year or whatever. And it's also the reason why you've heard of stories that you may not have followed up on the news, only because you've heard other people talk about it. It might be why you know about certain characters or shows, but have never watched them. You might even know piecemeal about the characters. You might have some information before ever actually fully being immersed in the topic or the show or whatever. And it's because of simply reinforced consistency and exposure to something, to a thing. When I first heard about this was a business case study for a local business, and I heard that an easy way for a local business, it's a kind of a local grassroots marketing style tactic. And one of the things that a local business can do to make them seem like they're more present, more busy, more, I guess, larger than they are, is to simply, like let's say you're a carpet cleaner or something, right? You simply park your truck on a different corner at different intervals throughout the day in a neighborhood that you want to service. And simply by doing that, by simply having it prominently displayed somewhere in a corner, it makes it seem like you are busier. But also by virtue of people driving by who live there, they come across your truck, they might see you on the highway. There's a familiarity that develops, and you become the known, liked, and trusted resource in an area for nothing more than being present. That's it. That's like the whole key. And that's why you might also remember like the words to a bad song that you hate. Actually, you can't help but like be able to like recall the entire song because of the way these sorts of things sort of stick out in your brain for whatever reason. So the trick here is to simply be prominently displayed, do it with frequency, and you'll get some sort of associative benefit. So that's one thing. Now, what if you're actually trying really hard to learn something? Most of what we do is based on recalls, based on memory. So I'm a big fan of this memory stuff. I'm always looking to figure out ways to shortcut the learning process and be able to recall things pretty efficiently and effectively. So the memory trick that I learned, I thought I'd just read it to you straight from the Kindle book, and I got it from I'm a subscriber to Kindle Unlimited because I read a lot. I just love reading. And the trick itself is anchoring something. It's making use of your long-term memory by creating this memory palace. And one of the methods that's talked about in this book, the book itself is called Unlimited Memory. And you can find it on Kindle. I'll figure out what the name of maybe I'll post the link to the guy who, the book is fascinating, but I'll post the link to give you more details on this. So here's the actual method. This is the car strategy. So basically what I'm going to do is just read to you, and this thing might sound stupid, and in fact that's the more ridiculous it is, the more these things tend to stick out in your brain. So we're going to take something, your car. If you can picture in your mind, you can close your close your eyes at this moment. You can picture in your mind a car that you, you know, your car, right? Like you probably know your car inside and out, right? So what we're going to do is figure out how much you can remember. So I want you to do this without skipping ahead, and then we'll go back and read through the list. But you'll see how amazing this is, because what I'm going to do is read to you a whole bunch of nouns for foods. Okay, so see your car in your mind and imagine you squeeze a big apple into the front grid of your car. Take a carrot and stab it into the bonnet. On the windscreen, see grainy bread, and think to yourself, the grainy bread is going to damage my windscreen wipers. Get inside your car and squash some dried fruit onto the dashboard. Really see it go into your speedometer. On the driver's seat, imagine you're sitting on blueberries and strawberries. Really feel it. You're sitting in the car with somebody. Throw eggs at the person sitting in the passenger seat next to you. They now have eggs on their face. Imagine you're pouring thousands of nuts and seeds onto your back seat. Go outside of your car and imagine a massive orange on your roof. You open the boot and it's full of fish. Really smell the fish. In the exhaust pipe, there's broccoli and Brussels sprouts growing out of the exhaust. And finally, the tires of your car are made out of sweet potatoes. Sweet. Now go through the car from the beginning to the end and see if you can remember all the information. If a word didn't stick, go back, make the connection stronger, and see it more clearly in your mind. You should be able to recall those, because those are what you've just learned how to memorize. Are 14 superfoods, foods that have been shown to improve your vitality and keep your mind agile and alert. You have just experienced, and I've tried this on family members, on friends, and they've all been amazed by it. I was amazed by it when I first learned it, and it works. You know, definitely something you need to practice, but with just that little exercise, you can see how this is something that you can make use of. Everything we do throughout life primarily is memory based, memory recall based, and this is one way to develop your recall ability. And that's why I read, because I'm always filling my brain with information I can quickly just access it. And it's pretty exciting for me anyway. I hope you found it useful. There's other cool tricks in the book, like how to memorize long sequence of numbers, like 12 to 14 digits long. I'm still working on that one, but this thing right here was, I found really useful for helping me with other areas and things that I do with my business, and with other things that I'm just interested in ingraining into my brain. So I hope you found it useful as well. On a side note, with that all being said, I'm actually interviewing another niche marketing master pretty soon here, Ryan Stewman. If you don't know who he is, a hardcore closer. And I'm also posting a link in here along with an interview or a reference that he did with Ben Settle. And the episode that I'm referencing is really probably going to be a good lead and something for you to check out, because there are aspects about the differences between the way Ben Settle does things and the way Ryan Stewman does things. So the call itself is I'm gonna take some of the information that Ben gave me, and I want to actually hear what Ryan Stewman has to say about some of these factors. But what I want to know from you is, what are some of your questions that you would have for someone who's considered the pinnacle salesperson, and that's what he's known for. He's known as the hardcore closer. The guy's a smart, sharp dude. He's no BS, no fluff, and I think that call is going to be real exciting. So if you have questions, would you mind please putting them somewhere, wherever the hell you're watching this, in the comments box, and reply to me in an email. You can find me on the Facebook and the Parlay Society. If you're not in there, why not? This is where this conversation will most likely thrive. Thank you for checking this out. I hope you found it useful in some way, shape, or form in your life. And yeah, I guess I will follow the commentary, and I will be speaking with you again soon.